everyone and welcome back. It's Gina from orchidandopal.com and I'm back with a finished jewelry update for the month of January 2021. I cannot believe we are already at the end of the first month of this new year, but here we are. It's flying by and I've been keeping myself busy making lots of new goodies, and so as usual I'm here to talk about those, bring those to you to hopefully give you some ideas and maybe some inspiration, show you what I've been up to. And not just share bead boxes and bead hauls, but also show you what you can do with some of these items, especially if we get some of the same boxes and materials. So as you can see, I have the first item that I made from this month's bargain bead box with that beautiful pink and rose gold theme. I'm going to get into that in just a moment, but before we get into all the finished pieces, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. If you haven't heard of them, Skillshare is an online learning community for creative individuals. They offer thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including graphic design, productivity, arts and crafts, and so much more. This month I discovered a class I thought that could be relevant to some of you called Selling on Etsy: How to Create a Successful Online Shop by Bonnie Lacat. So this is one example of a type of class that you can find from a wide variety of different classes. This one goes into the basics of how to set up your very own craft business to sell your pieces on Etsy with lots of great tips and tricks. Now more than ever, with a lot of us being in winter, we're still at home a lot of the time. It's a great time to learn new skills and keep your mind active with practical ideas. So definitely use this time to your advantage. Now normally their service is a little less than $10 per month, but because Skillshare is sponsoring today's video, the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description will get a free Skillshare premium trial. So you can take advantage of their thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects and feedback. Just click on the personalized link right below the video to sign up and you can try it out with no obligation. All right, so getting back to the pieces, this first one that you already got a little glimpse at. This one, if the video hasn't come out already, I'm going to have a full tutorial on it. So if you have gotten the January bargain bead box, you can make this along with me if you'd like to. As you can see, I used the light pink rondelles with that beautiful AB finish. I used the light tan colored little crystals in there, and also those peachy colored bicones along the bottom. What I did add from my own stash are the seed beads. They're size 11s, and this color happens to be called Sweet Blush. So is a pretty rose gold color that seemed to go well with the other findings that they sent this month. And then just focused on beading the front, brought up some beads along the sides, added a wire guard on each side from my stash, but then used their chain and also their clasp to finish it off. This is a design that's based on the right angle weave beading stitch, but I will go into more detail in that tutorial video, so check soon. If it's not already posted, it will be posted very soon. And here is yet another view of the necklace off of the display. You can see that clasp that I used as well as the chain that they sent. And here is a little peek at the back if you're curious as to what that looks like. The foundation just doesn't have as many of the beaded details with the seed beads as it does on the top. So that is the first item that I made from the contents of this month's bargain bead box. And now let me show you the second set I made. All right, here's a look at the actual necklace. And y'all might think I'm a little crazy, but I signed up for a second bargain bead box recently because I knew a lot of you guys were asking about tutorials and I wanted to have materials to maybe do more than one thing or not have to take something else apart. So I do have the finding that originally came in this box to show you. If you're not familiar, it had two loops at the top. As you can see, I have trimmed one of them off and then filed the edge to make this more of a one loop style finding. And then the next thing I did was I actually took some wire cutters and I trimmed out everything from the center except for this outer loop. So I trimmed that out, then took the carved pink rose quartz flower pendant and I wire wrapped that inside of that ring that I had left around that finding. So I am not a wire expert by any means, but I do have a lot of fun trying to practice with it and get better. And through a lot of trial and error, I was able to come up with this design and combine both of the pendants into one piece. So that's one thing I did with the carved rose pendant. And I do have something else to show you with the second one that I received, just to give you another idea of what you can do with that. Also, as you can see, I used some rose quartz beads, the smaller ones and the larger ones they sent going up the actual necklace itself, as well as some of the bead caps and some spacer beads. And then some of these beads, which had more of the appearance of like an opaque cherry quartz that they sent along with that. Thought it added a nice little depth of color, something different than that really pale pink, to bring out more of the pink tone in this combination. I then added 2 of those connectors to the top of the beaded portion with some wire guards, and then finished it up with some chain. And again, one of those clasps, the hook and eye loop clasp that they sent with this subscription. So that's the necklace, and then I also used the smaller carved rose quartz beads that they sent to make a matching pair of earrings to go along with that. I used a couple of the spacer beads at the bottom of the flowers to give that more of a decorative feel at the bottom. Also used some of those darker pink beads here mixed in with the rose quartz, as well as some of the bead caps that they sent, and just a couple of rose gold ear wires from my stash. And then now for the extra carved pendant I received in the other 2 flowers. I wasn't really planning to do this, but the story behind it is I have been playing with more wire wrapping and wire weaving over the weekend because, like I said, it's just not something I'm that great at this point, but I'm learning more and more as time goes on, and it takes a lot of practice and time. So I actually made this little decorative bail to go along with 2 components that I made with the smaller carved flowers. Here's the look at the bail. As you can see, I have not attached this to an actual necklace yet, but I will. And that dark substance is just from some smoke fire line I was playing around with. I can clean that up. So that's what that little bit of darkness is. So this has not been turned into an official finished piece yet, but I do like how this came out with the decorative bail and some dead soft raw copper wire. But what started it all was I was playing with the snake weave from a wire weaving book that I had received from a viewer very early on, and she knows who she is, and I'll show you the book in just a second. But I was playing with the snake weave, which is this weave that is featured kind of on the sides. And originally I was trying to put it in the form of a pendant that was featured in the book, but because I'm new and it wasn't quite right the way that I was doing it, I wasn't happy with the pendant that I was trying to wrap. But rather than get rid of the weave that I had taken the time to make and throw the materials away, I actually trimmed it into smaller pieces and decided to just try to wrap those around these carved rose quartz stones and do something with it. So I like how they came out. I'm not sure if I will use these for earrings or if I will use them as a connector in a necklace, but I figured I would show you these anyway just to show you something else I was playing around with. And then here's the book. I highly recommend it if you haven't heard of this book yet. It's called Timeless Wire Weaving: The Complete Course. And it is by Lisa Barth, who is a very talented wire artist. And from my understanding, she has done a lot of teaching around the country, not to mention her books. So if you are trying to learn wire weaving, I highly recommend this book. It starts from very basic types of weaves. It has not only more advanced projects, but it has beginners, intermediate, and advanced. So things you can build upon from those basic stitches. I'll leave a link to this book down below. You can get it on Amazon, for example, but there's a lot of great information in there. So that's all I have to show you from the bargain bead box this month. Let me show you some of the other things I've been up to. Since we're on the topic of wire, I want to show you the other item that I made from another pendant I was trying to make with the same type of snake weave with the wire from her book. And she spells it out very well, lots of very great descriptions and pictures. It's just when you're new at something, it does take practice to get the hang of it. And the pendant I was originally trying to wrap, I think, was just too big to start out with, for me anyway. So I had this coil of the snake weave, and again, I didn't want to get rid of it. I didn't want to take it apart because it was still pretty well intact. So sort of like I did with those smaller rose carved flowers, I decided to find another pendant that I had in my stash. This one had come from an older bead crate box, and it's got the hole there at the top. So I kind of started just wrapping that coil around and seeing how I could affix that pendant to it, built off that skill that I was kind of learning through that book, but then ended up doing my own thing. The other thing that's pretty interesting is I used a patina, a liver of sulfur patina, which she had talked about in her book. And I gave that same, what would have been the same very bright copper color, this more antiqued look. And I love playing around with that. I haven't played around with patinas, so I have a lot more to learn about that as well, but I want to show you what I was up to and kind of the different parts of my journey as I go. So that's another item I made. Again, not into a entire necklace or anything yet, but I really do like how this component came together. It's very sturdy, and not being a talented wire artist, I felt pretty good about how that came out. Then just something on my own. I've had these Swarovski, I guess they were pendants, for quite some time in my stash. I think they came in a free gift from the Beads of the Month Club, perhaps. You all had probably seen me unbox these a while back. They're just a very pale yellow color and very beautiful. And I've been wanting to make a pair of earrings with these for a while, and also thought that since I was playing with the wire anyway, I would go ahead and try to turn these into some earrings with some basic wire coiling around the tops of them with a couple little decorative flourishes. I had to redo these a bunch of times, but finally was happy with the way they had come out. So that's another pair of earrings, and something else maybe you can do if you have some of those larger Swarovski pendants that are kind of like this. I think these Swarovski crystals end up looking really pretty when they're combined with wire projects. Something else brand new, it's been a month of trying out new things for me, I guess, is something I shared in the recent BB Craft haul, where I shared with you some of the products that I used to make this beaded embroidery barrette. So here's a look at the back of the barrette. You can see this light pink leather is what I finished it off with. This is my very first piece of bead embroidery. I'd never tried it before. It always just seemed like a totally new world. And I think it is. It's very different in terms of all the things that you can learn and all the paths that you can go down with bead embroidery. It just seemed too overwhelming to me to branch out into that world when I'm so focused on the jewelry aspect of stringing and bead weaving. But I got a wild hair, I guess, and because I'd gotten some of the materials from BB Craft, I jumped in. I drew out the flower design onto a piece of non-woven fabric that they had sent, pulled out a whole bunch of different sizes of beads, started with the crystal in the center, that's a sew-on crystal, and then kind of built around that with different sizes of seed beads, bugles, and different things. I would have preferred to go with a little bit lighter shade than I have here, the darker 80 seed beads, but I didn't have anything in my stash currently that would have worked, so that was the best option I had. But again, this is a learning experience, and I just finished off the edges by wrapping around little loops of 411 clear seed beads. So a lot of stuff for this came from BB Craft, and it was just fun to try something new and tackle something that I had been putting off for a while. So hopefully there will be a lot more bead embroidery to come in the future and better looking pieces as time goes on. I have a couple new designs. I've been working with some of the 6mm cube beads, and here's one example in 3 different colorways that I've been playing around with a new design using 6mm cubes. I have a video using 4mm cube beads to make a tennis bracelet, which has been really popular over the past couple years. So I was like, let me try something with the 6. Again, another product that I had gotten from bbcraft.com. Not that I keep trying to plug them specifically. You could use any 6mm beads. That's just where these happen to come from. And then I combine them with 6mm Miyuki bugle beads to come up with this new design. So I should have a tutorial coming out for this in the future, hopefully the near future. I'm playing around with it a little bit more, but it makes for a great bracelet. It's got a lot of movement to it. It's very flexible. It's not too stiff. So you can see it's easy to wrap that up around your wrist and frames out those beautiful crystals that sparkle like a tennis bracelet. The seed bead sizes I used are 11/0. This one and the bluish one I believe are the Tohos. And this one over here is Miyuki. They're just a teensy bit smaller, and I actually think I kind of like those, so I might play a little bit more with the Miyukis, but we'll see. So that's one new design with the cubes. And then another cube design that spun off of that is this one. And you can see that I did not use bugles in this example. I used 3 different colors of cubes in each of these bracelets, and some size 11 and some size 8/0 seed beads on the bottom, kind of right angle weave style, like I did with the other ones, except just not using bugles and finishing the tops off a little bit differently. So this is something else I'm playing around more with, but I'm very, very pleased with these bracelets, and I'm moving them just so you can see how flexible they are, and they're not stiff like the other ones aren't either, so they will really wrap nicely around your wrist and give you that sparkly tennis bracelet-like appearance. Then a couple other bracelets are spun off of a design I shared last month that was in a light blue and rose gold. This is another type of herringbone piece. I shared a basic herringbone video this month, so I will be coming back with some tutorials that incorporate that type of stitch. This is one that is using the shorter 3mm bugle beads and some size 11 and some of those Checkmates 2-hole tile beads. This one in a kind of teal and brick red combination with the cream bugles. And then this one, which reminds me of a peacock with these very vibrant, shiny, purplish blue 3mm bugles, the metallic seed beads, and also those gorgeous 2-hole tiles in those peacock colors. So those are just 2 other colorways that I had made out of that design, and working towards coming back with a tutorial for this one in the near future as well. And then I was starting to work on some tubular herringbone type pieces because I'll be coming back with a tutorial on the basics of that in the future. And this is one of the pieces that I finished. It's a necklace made of Miyuki triangle seed beads, and they give you that really interesting texture when you use them. I used some silver and some gold and some matte black and kind of striped those up the necklace, as you can see. And it was really enjoyable to work with some of those triangles and seeing how cool they look in a herringbone type of design. Now, as far as some things I've already shared in a couple of tutorials I did earlier this month, I made these horse eye beaded and framed bezels or pendant necklaces, and I will show you a closer look at the one that I made in the tutorial, this purple one. A lot of these products came from BB Craft as well, so this is something that I know a lot of you all would not have all of these exact materials on hand, but I like to do different things, not only very basic and simple type of tutorials, but also just show you some other fun and different things you can do to maybe inspire you. Because even if you don't do this exact same thing from the tutorial, you can learn some tips about how to actually create a seed bead bezel or delica bead bezel, or in this case, hex bead bezel, around pretty much any type of shape of stone. This just happens to be the horse's eye, and I used 2 different colors there. And then actually weaved it onto one of these frames that just happened to go really well with that shape. And I also affixed one of these other metallic oval frames on the back. So overall, just a really sturdy, solid pendant and something new and different that I had a lot of fun coming up with. So if you're interested in that tutorial, you can check that one out. That is already up on my channel. And as you can see, I used a whole bunch of different colors since those agate horse eye pendants came in that variety. And then finally, a design that I recently shared in a tutorial. These are the Paisley Flourish pieces. This one happened to be turned into a pendant. I shared a couple of these in different colorways previously that were turned into earrings. And I wanted to play around with these turquoise batik style paisley duos. So this is just another colorway and also just showing how you could turn that into a pendant. And there's a look at the back of that. Actually goes together pretty quickly. And these different shapes, the Samos parpukas, the Amos parpukas, and they're all kind of framed out with 15-0 seed beads. And then I attached one of these waxed cotton cords onto the pendant that I had also gotten recently from BB Craft. Here's a pair of earrings that I had also made and hadn't shared yet in one of these videos, I don't think. Just again, different color combinations, silver and some of the jet black paisley duos with that fun metallic pattern, and some light aqua 15-0 seed beads to frame that out. And then finally another pendant that I hadn't shared in that same type of design with those electric pink paisley duos and black accents with also some nickel plated seed beads to frame that one out, this time on one of those organza ribbon necklaces with the waxed cotton cord. So you can check out that tutorial as well if you're interested in trying to make any of that design. So that is everything I have to share with you all for this month. I hope you enjoyed checking out and seeing what I've been up to and maybe getting some ideas and inspiration. Who knows, maybe something totally spun off from something I shared or sparked something in you to create with your beads and maybe some similar components that we've both received. A huge thank you for all of you for being here with me. You all truly inspire me and keep me going, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and a huge welcome to all of you new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you, and that way you'll be notified as I'm posting new content. And also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. Also, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. That really helps out my channel. Don't forget to check out their link down below for your free trial. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you've been up to lately or if any of these pieces stood out to you. I'll be back again real soon. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.